Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series Winter Europe Edition. I'm Nathanius, joined in the desk by Zombie Grub as we make our way into the second match here. As a good first series. Did you enjoy that one, Zombie Grub?
I did actually, even though it was a pretty, fast 2-0. I still thought that the tactics were cool.
Yeah, I agree. As we move through Group H for helado, if you guys like ice cream. And we've got a ZvZ coming up next. It's going to be Zanster versus SortOf. Now, we've become somewhat experts here, commentating the European groups at WCS on ZvZ, so don't worry, we're going to break it down real nice and good for you here. Do you have a player that you like here? You a fan of Record Mechanics Bergman?
I mean, I like both players, but I think Zanster sometimes has like stronger spikes, in his performance.
Okay.
Sometimes it looks actually not that great, but then sometimes he just actually beats people that people weren't expecting. And then SortOf, even though he's been training in Korea, is he actually still in Korea? I don't think so. But anyways, even though he's been training in Korea, sometimes it hasn't actually shown its results yet. Like he was really struggling through some of those qualifiers earlier in the year.
Yeah, SortOf. He's a good player. We've been hearing about him a lot. I mean, he's he's also like a case of suffering from success. In fact, he was so popular, I think his copy pasta is even banned in this chat. So it's unfortunate, but he's somewhat of a cult legend. The old sacred texts still have the tales of his perfect mechanics. We are loading into King's Cove to kick off our next best of 3. Hopefully you're all having a great day. I guess if you're European, it's late afternoon-ish, right?
Yes, it is.
We have a graphic that shows us it, but I didn't look at it, so.
It's like 3 or something, I don't know. I don't even know what time it is here, so.
It's 7:30.
All right, there you go.
7:30 in the morning.
All right, so it's game number 1 in this second preliminary match. In the top left, as the red Zerg, he is Psystorm's Zanster.
And in the bottom right, we have his opponent. Many know him for his mechanics. He is SortOf. He's sort of kind of really good at StarCraft, Zombie Grub.
Sort of, kind of. Sort of. Multiple GSLs? I didn't know he was in 2 GSL Ro32s. I knew he was in 1.
Look at that. He's still surprising us even to this day.
Isn't he? Isn't it though? Yeah, he has been training in Korea. He lives there, for a large portion
of his career.
Of his time. Which I'm actually wondering what the quality of ZvZ practice is on the Korean server. We have such an abundance in Europe.
Yeah, Korean server is all about them Terrans, right?
Exactly. Like your ZVT probably improved, yeah, for sure. But the ZvZ, I do wonder about that. I guess he, sometimes is living with Scarlet, so I actually get some ZvZ practice.
If they practice together enough like that.
Yeah. From my experience watching the house work, it's more like they just watch each other play, as opposed to in-house scrim, something like that. Yeah, That he is. That's the same way that SortOf has his memes. He keeps his legacy alive. Zanster has his own memes. Just, can't talk about it.
Indeed, he does. Let's just say he's something of a rabble-rouser.
In the best way possible.
In the best way possible, yes. So this matchup is ZvZ, in case anybody here didn't notice.
Is it?
So we're just kind of waiting for one player to decide, hey, I want to try and kill you. So far, everything is extremely similar, right? Just about the same number of workers. Link speed is damn near perfectly lined up. Both players are going to take their thirds. Sometimes somebody skips Zergling speed, Zombie Grub, and the player that did get Zergling speed is able to deny the third and kind of contain them, but that's not happening in this game. Is it safe to say that this is mirror-ish? Someone point out that there's more gas for SortOf, but I'm going to be like, no, it's still pretty much the same thing. Oh, look at that. Okay, first real decision being made here. We've got Baneling Nest on the way for Zanster, Roach Warren up for SortOf. So both players will diverge a bit in tech, it seems.
Yeah, but this is really, it can be very risky from SortOf, you know? Like, you don't, the number of roaches that you can get such an early stage in the game doesn't actually beat the amount of lings you can get in such an early stage of the game. So it can be a trick. Usually you see a nice swell of lings from the person going into roaches, kind of like the best defense is a good offense type idea.
Yeah.
So that they can buy time to get to roaches if the attack isn't working, if their opponent is making a lot of lings themselves. But SortOf didn't really make that many lings. Now he's making a few more. Zanster does not know about the Roach Warren. You know, for all he knows and all he's guessing, he probably is still guessing it's more of a Ling Baneling thing. And then he'll see it's a Roach Warren and go like, ah, okay, we need to move on to the next stage.
Doesn't this have more potential then for Zanster because there's no Baneling nest for SortOf, right?
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 good Bane hits, and then there's nothing that can really stop Zanster from getting a kill on this third without a bunch of roaches coming out.
Only if Zanster is able to break SortOf, though. And even though he has the Baneling advantage, he's not really pushing it, right? He's
Yeah,
not,
he's
like,
not
all in
building
it
any
here.
more lings.
So that's also kind of why the Roach Warren can work out, is that more often than not, it's more just a poke and a prod, and then you both go into roaches. So in this case, you just get to skip a step as SortOf, not have to go for the as much gas. He will get equally timed +1 missile, though. In the grand scheme of things, I guess this isn't actually that you know, great for SortOf. Even falls behind a bit in drones, but this is fantastic.
As Zanster squeezed out a lot of workers, he's feeling a little bit greedy here. He doesn't, of course, have Banelings as we discussed, but 1 or 2 good detonations from SortOf. Excuse me, from Zanster. He's going to push SortOf's forces back. I was going to say, he was up to, like, it was like 45 drones to 30. And actually, it's still like a 10-worker lead for Zanster. He's been a greedy boy.
Yeah, well, SortOf made a lot more lings than I would have expected as well, for being more the person who's supposed to defend.
It seems like he was thinking, he took the Nathaniel's advice. He was thinking about a big Ling Bane attack coming from Zanster that never did.
And then,
as you pointed out, he made those 2 Banelings and he just kind of chilled and he's like, all right, I'm going home. I'm not really committing to this.
Yeah, and in ZvZ, when you overmake that army, you have to try and do a counter. And oftentimes it'll work too, so. But it does, you know.
Wow, you're behind on workers and just getting a couple of drone pickoffs here. I think is really big. Wow, whoa! He killed his own drone.
That's a little weird.
Mutiny!
Yeah. But this is not a strong start for SortOf, who is really falling down in drones at this point. Zanster taking absolute control of the game. You may notice that his roach speed is late because his lair's only about halfway done, but I'm not actually sure the roach speed is going to be a good enough benefit, at the very least, for SortOf to really make anything work here. King's Cove, also a very good defender's advantage map. You know, you got ramps on both of your bases, so as long as you see their movement, you can always have that position. SortOf just needs to claw his way back into the economy. I'm not sure he's going to find any openings from Zanster, but Zanster is taking a 4th base. That's going to be hard to defend.
Always find it weird how some players don't go for a creep between their bases. Did he blow up a Baneling on the rocks, by the way?
I think it was a single ling.
Okay.
Yeah.
But these lings are going to poke. They get 3 drones, almost a 4th one there. Okay, yep, 4.
Not bad.
Still way ahead in workers is Zanster. He has he's been a greedy boy, but is SortOf about to push it in?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Like, at first it was just SortOf falling behind. Now it is a decision made by SortOf to go for an attack. And if Zanster is going to continue to be greedy, like get a 4th base, like go up even more to 68 drones, and 2 more on the way.
Upgrades, taking more bases.
Yeah, then SortOf.
Evo chamber. He's crazy. And SortOf's just gonna jam roaches down his throat till he dies.
That's what he should do, and that's what he's prepping to do. So it's just a matter of when exactly the push out comes. SortOf has not gone for the +2 missile, so I would have expected it to be soon. He's actually dodging the Overseer to show less roaches than is actually accurate, despite Zanster's attempt to get full scouting done. I think he missed the army itself, or how big it was, rather. Now he's going to try and get position, but I think you have to give up this 4th base.
Yeah, I think Rickard Mechanics Bergman is about to drop the hammer with all of these roaches. The upgrades are not ready yet for Zanster. Zanster does not even have roach speed, so running away isn't even an option for him.
No. Defensively, if you're on a concave on the high grounds, roach speed, you know, it's still about the numbers. But when you have to run away because you made a mistake, well, the roach speed is obviously a very, very big deal. That 4th base is going to have to be canceled. Zanster managed to get away with a good portion of his army, but it's already weakened. It's just not up to size compared to SortOf either, and has no upgrade advantage. This is good for SortOf. Very good.
Yep. And look at that, dropping the biles, denying the eggs from hatching, cutting off the reinforcements of Zanster as SortOf continues to push through this 3rd base. Some of the drones are starting to die now, and he still has those 4 Ravagers in the back. Those biles so useful, he's going to drop them straight on the eggs. Boom, denies 2 more roaches from being more. I think, is Zanster super dead here? He's got another wave of roaches coming out. Defender's advantage is a thing, but another wave of roaches is finally reaching from SortOf space to add to this, and he's even flooding out some Zerglings behind this.
Yeah. He's going to take a shot there. The hatchery goes down. The roaches are continuously canceled with the corrosive bile. It's very nice by SortOf to do that. He basically gets us around here to take out the rest of the army. And while Zanster tries to use his drones, as he has so many more, right, it's still not going to help out enough. The more roaches are here, but SortOf now has the worker lead. He would fall behind in upgrades if he was pushed back. But I don't think he's going to be pushed back. Zanster might be struggling to hold on here, and it's just like a very close fight. But SortOf has more roaches on the way. Zanster should be running out of steam.
Yeah, Zanster's production is also cut, right? Since he only has 2 hatcheries now. And
Exactly.
SortOf continues to rally across the map. It's a roach flood, and there's no life vests on this ZvZ boat.
He finally has that 2-1 advantage, but as he taps out. GG. SortOf, actually kind of a wonky start there. You know, wasn't exactly all lining up to plan, but then when the decision came to macro versus attack, Zanster macroed way too much.
Yeah, he was exceptionally greedy.
It was greedy.
We were talking about bugs in the green room during your guys' last cast, and
We were.
definitely say that those are some nasty roaches all over the place, getting up and everything. Good play by SortOf, and really, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, right? The Overseer comes by. Zanster sent 2 Overseers. He had one go over the natural. Didn't seem like he really caught that, because I think in a lot of ZvZs, when that situation occurs, you'll sometimes see that player, like, cancel the upgrades they're getting.
Right.
Not going to try and get the 4th base. Because be like, well, look, I have more drones. I don't need a 4th.
Mhm.
I'm already ahead. I should just try to build up my defenses so I don't die to this attack. And
Yeah.
well, he died to that attack, so.
It's exactly what he should have done, and if he had seen the just sheer amount of roaches, that might have tipped him off. I wasn't checking to see if maybe SortOf had bamboozled him with an extra gas geyser that wasn't actually going to be used or something along those lines to continue the facade, but he was so close to actually scouting the roaches.
I think the Overseer just going over the 3rd base. There were like 10 drones mining minerals there, and he's like, well, my base has 24 drones on my 3rd. Maybe my opponent is building a huge attack and just did not click fast enough for him, because I felt like he did get into a great position versus SortOf.
Yeah.
He was just like, well, I got away with my greed. Now I'm going to just get all of the things that would permanently cement my lead. But in that situation,
Yeah, it's one of those like
Dr. Mechanics you can't fool him twice.
can't beat his mechanics. But Zanster, you know, because he got a lead, maybe that was overconfidence there. You know, he scouted the lack of drones, and instead of saying, "Oh, that's suspicious," he was like, "Oh, that's great." You know, like I'm winning even more.
Wow, I'm so ahead on drones. This is just great. I'm gonna get even more drones. Like, but no, that's not always how. It's not exactly how ZvZ works.
Yeah, and the reason we're really like just hitting home with this is because it really would have been the difference of being on a high ground, not protecting that 4th. That would have made that Zanster's game. So that was the decision that's changed everything.
Yep. Especially because he couldn't run, because his roach speed didn't finish until like 5 seconds after SortOf killed half the roaches on the low ground.
Yep.
SortOf looking really fierce in this picture, by the way.
Yes.
Does it look like he's leaned out a little bit? I like it.
He has, yeah. He's I think he's like working
He's like
out.
it's like a different, it's like a Scandinavian Chris Hemsworth kind of look actually going on there.
How is Chris Hemsworth not already a Scandinavian look?
Well, he's Australian.
Well, yeah, but
So.
still. See a Viking, I would say that's
They are on different places
Viking.
in this planet.
that's true.
Oh, they both kind of look like Vikings. I'll give you that.
Yeah, so I was going with that.
Okay.
Well, anyways. In the bottom right, taking that first game for Cascade is the Red Zerg SortOf.
And his opponent in the top left, our blue Zerg player. He is Zanster. I love the music. Intense. Getting fired up here at the start of Group H for happiness. Zombie Grub.
For happiness, there's going to be 2 people happy and 2 people...
Not happy.
Yeah, I was...
Well, you can still be happy, right? You played StarCraft, you made money. You still get money even for bombing out of this. You could qualify for WCS Winter, lose every single game as long as you show up for your games, and it's, I think, Fear Dragon's the number cruncher, but it's like $675 or something.
I think so.
So you could bomb out, and then you're like, you know what? I can put all that money towards, well, assuming that you have passion, you already own all the skins and cosmetics in StarCraft, so you put them into a savings account where you wait for more skins and war chests to come out.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, because what else do you spend your money on? There's no... StarCraft is the only thing in this planet.
Yes.
Twitch chat will back me up on this.
I think so. You know, there are much, much more expensive hobbies.
Oh, yeah.
Much more expensive.
Oh, yeah. When people hate on gaming, it's like... How many times have you like bought like a new model or a toy or something? You're like, well, I need another one. It's like, no, man. I bought StarCraft 8 years ago.
And it's still paying off.
If you divided the number, it's like you divide the money by the number of hours played. It's something like movies are like not crazy cost effective because they are expensive and you get like what 2 hours generally, but
Right.
like a good game could maybe give you like 10 hours story, 20 hours if you're bad at it.
Yes.
Some games are pretty crazy and go a lot longer, but then StarCraft's like, no, I've played 30,000 hours, and then you divide.
Yeah.
And then you divide that by the amount that you paid, and it ends up being a lot. Especially if you got in the free to play.
Oh yeah.
You're dividing by 0 there.
There you go.
You're actually breaking any calculator you try to do that on.
Even that guy that played like 10,000 games and is still in bronze, still got some good effort. StarCraft.
I've gone out of my way to buy everything that you can get in StarCraft, and I'm pretty sure it's still more cost-effective than anything else I've ever purchased in my entire life.
Yeah. Well, we don't even get started on like comic book collectors. Like, oh boy, that's a pricey hobby.
Appreciating value assets. Next, you're gonna tell me these people buy cars, Zombie Grub. Nidus Worm on the way. Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, my day just got 10 times better.
And I saw Nidus Worms yesterday in a once an all-in sense. The other ones were more like a macro, like out of position thing. This is certainly the all-in we're all familiar with, and sort of is the one again going for aggression. Zanster went for his own 2-base lair, but is more so going for that like slower third and a +1. He needs to scout that. Sort of's not planning the same thing, but he can't. You know, he's going to be. Well, he should actually be tricked by a wiggle jiggly.
Yeah,
chamber.
It's not wiggling, it's not jiggling.
Yeah, and if he was reading that correctly, I mean, he's starting to build roaches.
Well,
he looks for the Nidus
there
Worm.
we go.
Yeah, sort of could have definitely kept up appearances a little longer.
Queens on the ground do 2 attacks of 4. The Nidus has 5 armor while burrowing, so it takes half a damage per hit.
This is such a fast Nidus Worm attack that there really isn't a lot to bring with it. So if Zanster has any preparation whatsoever,
send drones and make spines. No,
yeah, I feel like he's fine. He's up 13 drones, so he legitimately can use them to defend. There you go. Yep. But does he have the larva after this? 7 more drones roaches are on the way. The drones are getting those surrounds. Queens transfusing each other. There's a couple more roaches.
More roaches coming through. The drone count is almost in favor of SortOf. Close to getting the amount of damage necessary to at least transition past this point if he needs to. It is not over yet, of course. Has another weakened roach. Transfuse. Energy.
No, he doesn't. Oh, he did. Oh, he barely did. The last second there, but it's not going to be quite enough. We have only 1 more roach in the way for Zanster. Maybe having a gas problem, actually. That's what his problem is, gas. So he's building queens. He's building something, you know. You are trying to hold here. Even if you get even out on workers, Zanster still has that +1 missile upgrade, which has been in effect for like 15 seconds here.
Yeah, that +1 is so big.
Yes, and he has
What if he did bunker micro with the Nidus, or he dodged the roach shots and killed everything?
That would be pretty cool.
I thought about it. It sounded awesome for a brief moment.
I don't know what SortOf's really expecting from a second Nidus Worm. Finding Zanster out of position isn't going to cause any severe damage. We're talking about 2-base defense, so Zanster is going to see it. It gets the drone. I was trying to make a 3rd base. Zanster being a little over-eager to get the game going again.
Yeah, it feels like this attack's kind of falling on its face for SortOf, though. With the low number of units, that +1 attack is even more important, in my opinion. So I just don't really see a world where SortOf can break Zanster anymore. He has similar, if not more, units. He's got the Ravagers now as well. And he's got that +1 attack upgrade that you mentioned, Zombie Grub.
Yeah. He's got that extra queen because his queens never died in the first place, so they can go back to inject. They can get a transfuse. This is no longer working, and SortOf, as opposed to trying to drone out of this and just get behind that missile.
Run away, go back in the Nidus, go home, Roach.
No, he's going to try and continue.
Takes the queen out. That's a bold move. Boy, he's going to start another Nidus.
Yeah, he is completely all in.
He's gone off the deep end.
At this point, it is a little...
I mean, I guess he realizes this game is over, so he's like, I'm just going to throw a few more punches at him, see if I can catch him unaware. But no, there is no universe where you are breaking this.
Yeah.
Your opponent has more economy than you. You cannot outproduce them.
I mean, to be fair, Zanster tried to take a third base with that second Nidus Worm, so it's a potential that Zanster would misread.
There's just way too much here. I feel like you want him to take the third, right? Like, wait a minute or two, hope he gets drones and then attack. But he attacked again so soon that Zanster's like, I guess I just keep building roaches. GG. Series is tied up 1 apiece. I got my Worm De La Nidus, which is all I wanted.
You got it. I think we'll be seeing some more, though, so you'll have more than one Nidus.
I like Nidus builds. Nidus builds are fun.
They are fun.
It's one of those things you don't get to see enough.
I don't know how fun that was for SortOf, who, as I said, you know,
there's something to it for how fast he did that attack.
Yes.
Before the +1 kicked in, like, if he had been able to maybe split off, like, 1 or 2 of those roaches and just get a couple of those drones that were still in orange health after the pull, because if he gets any type of economic lead, then you can start to snowball the roach production. But if you don't more than equalize the drone count, then you're spending money on a Nidus, which means you're spending more to do that, so you can't spend the same as your opponent on roaches.
Right.
So you can't catch up. Like, it's just mathematically impossible.
He almost caught Zanster not only being like greedy with that third base, he almost caught him without gas as well. So that was a potential thing that could have happened. It just didn't quite. I'm still going to go back to sort of not really keeping up the appearance of macro for maybe as long as possible. I think I caught his gas mineral count, to be clear, and I think it was he couldn't start +1 even to try and fake. Yeah. But that is one of the nice things about that wall is that you can try and convince them that you're doing the same exact thing when you actually are planning to cancel the +1 missile. But I think Zanster, just with a tiny little bit of a heads up, was actually a huge difference. 4 roaches instead of 4 drones is big when it's such an early Nidus.
At that point, it's the difference between winning and losing, Zombie Grub.
Exactly.
Couldn't agree with you more. As we move on to game number 3, we are going to be playing it on Year 0. Great map.
Yeah, we see it far more often, it feels, when we do have Zerg players, but then we didn't really see it a lot yet last.
I think it's safe to say that this season we've had the least amount of players just picking the same 2 maps. I feel very confident in that statement. Generally, it's like whatever the 2 most popular maps were from the last season. Like, you know, when we had like the Overgrowth era, and literally every single best of 3 for a year in WCS started on Overgrowth.
Yes, I do remember that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I'm still traumatized. I apologize.
Yeah, we're quite blessed. We haven't had that, like, the one map that everyone chooses. No. Even when Lost and Found was super popular, we still had Blackpink, for instance.
Yeah. And now I think we have a good core of maps where we do have variety. You know, this wasn't a Port Alexander Kairos Junction best of 3, for example.
Yeah. So Year 0, the more fun maps for a few different reasons. On the top right, in this ace match, it is the Red Zerg SortOf.
And his opponent in the top left, our blue Zerg player, tying it up. He is Zanster.
Who is that? Is that Patience? Solar? Who else has glasses? I want to say it's Solar.
Okay, yeah, I'll just go with that.
No, I'll just go with that.
Sounds good. I thought you were looking at his decal, and I'm like, it looks like maybe a Hadouken or something. I'm not sure. It looks like an energy ball that someone would shoot out of their, their hands like that. Yep. Both hands would have to be held together, of course, to fire a ball like that.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, that's not a one-handed Psy Blast. Kai Blast, I think, would be the name for it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the same thing over here. Is it the default Zerg?
Is this a WCS mod thing, or that's not the default?
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
I actually don't think I've ever seen that decal. Now now I feel like my whole reality is being questioned. Are we still in the Berenstain universe, or did we go back to Berenstain?
Oh gosh, as someone who didn't really read those books, I was so confused about why that was a conversation.
I had my mind blown recently with another one of those.
Okay.
I read.
Okay, I think I know what it is, but go ahead.
Okay, well, for some reason I remembered growing up, I remembered it as STARS was Special Tactics and Rescue Squad, and all of a sudden, everything said service everywhere, and I'm like, it's not Special Tactics and Rescue Squad. My mind was blown. Yeah, I thought it was Squad my whole life. Oh. And I've played those games a million times.
I thought you were going to go with the whole Tostitos versus Totitos or whatever. Like, I forget which one's correct, actually.
No, wasn't it? I thought it, wait, it's not. There is no Tostito. No! I just remember that wonderful commercial. The guy's like, you have to be quiet, and then the guy just loudly says it. I love. Sorry.
There's some weird.
They're not paying me to say that, so I'm not going to finish.
Yeah, you probably. Yeah. Lairs for both parties again. Is anyone going to be tricky and go for the Nidus Worm?
What if they both Nidus each other at the same time?
That would be awesome. The Year Zero does have some blank space, I guess.
All right, guys, I'm going to need both of you to put all your overlords in the corner of the map. Don't look in your base.
Don't.
I want the weirdest ZvZ ever. Let's just have it right here, right now.
Yeah, all right.
Tell I'm extremely, extremely excited for more Zerg versus Zerg.
I actually like ZvZ. But, you know, Zanster, I would say that, you know, I guess it depends a little bit on the day, but generally I would say he is a rather aggressive player. So for him to be the defender in both of these games so far...
It's a bit out of the usual.
Yeah, and then sort of I would usually, you know, the joke is his mechanics, but yeah, I would usually say as a macro guy is really bringing out the aggression.
Yep. Yeah. Problem is, Zombie Grub, I tried to get more and more into ZvZ and try to understand it, and then I saw Serral play ZvZ at BlizzCon against Rogue and Dark.
Yeah.
And it actually ruined ZvZ for me because it was the best ZvZ I have ever seen in the entirety of StarCraft 2.
Well,
it was so good.
It was amazing, especially that game 4, I believe it was.
Yeah. The game, was it the Lost and Found game? Was
Yep.
That was the single best map of Zerg versus Zerg I've ever seen, and almost no other game I've even since then or before at all like comes close to. And that game was just pure madness. Every time I watch a ZvZ, I dream of that series.
I had the pleasure of casting Raynor versus Serral, which also had really amazing games.
That's a great matchup, yeah.
What made it so fun, though, is that they would both try so many different styles, like Ling-based styles, too, right, with +1 melee and stuff like that. Whereas this series, it's actually been quite straightforward.
Yeah, we just got two guys that throw roaches. By the way, I remember the name of that guy from TSL we talked about yesterday, Revival.
Oh, wow.
Revival was the other TSL Zerg player that would do, like, Roach Armor Carapace memes against Terran players in WCS America.
There you go. So while we were just chit-chatting there, it was a normal macro to macro build. That's why there's nothing much to talk about. +1s on the
These guys are actually doing the same exact thing.
Just about. Yep. Zanster's a little late to his Roach speed, but that is not going to contribute. It's good.
If only the Queen could just blindly fire at an extra range with 10% chance to hit, you know what I'm saying? I've been watching too many in-control streams. Sorry.
I was like, I don't want to know what you're saying. It sounds like a terrible world. Spire is on the way, so someone, I mean, it would have been a little surprising to see them go exactly just roach to roach. There's always someone who gets that Spire, it feels, and this is, in this case, going to be SortOf, so he's going to want his gases pretty quickly at this third base. Zanster is going to want a direct scout on the Spire, but might have some other ways to be, you know, tipped off by it, but his Overseer has done its job once already, and Zanster might not be in a hurry to get the rescout done, which would hurt. He's clearly going for, you know, the second evolution chamber upgrade, so he's just going to go for a lot of roaches, and he's going to be a little blindsided. Oh, wait, hold on. There we go. There's the second Overseer. Get it. Get it.
Find that Spire. Go, go, go.
The Queen from the main should beat exactly. Exactly.
Oh, wow. It's a hard knock life for Overseers. What if the Changeling gets the scout? What if that's the difference maker?
Oh, wow. Oh.
Oh.
I'd assume he would get it.
Hero Changeling, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, he clicked on it too. Oh, he knows. And another Nidus Worm is on the Zombie Grub. It's like Christmas. It's Christmas in February.
It's like Zanster just is trying to appeal to you, man.
Yeah.
It's nice of him. And it is going to be the best option. You can bring Queens with this. Hell, you could even bring drones and build Spore Crawlers. Or you could take a decent fight here from the get-go and get them already
like, wait, he's going to Nidus, but then he's like, actually, I could just kill him with ground units. I guess he could use the Nidus to reinforce.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about this is that it got sort of to panic, right? So he did spend some minerals, not on mutas.
This is slightly awkward because he has to put the Nidus Worm somewhere this army can get to, right? Yeah, okay. He's going to put the Nidus on his army. I was going to say, going into the Nain or something is always fun with the Nidus Worm, but he would be split very badly by all of his army being on that southeast corner. So this is a reinforcement Nidus, not like I'm going to surprise attack you Nidus.
It's still closer, so the Queens can help out. I would have expected at least one more Queen, because the mutas by now, they've had the time to get out. They are out, we know that. 5 of them actually heading across the way. Does Zanster have any defense? A single Spore Crawler would have covered that, but he's going to lose drones.
Yeah, and the Queens behind this are going to move very slowly to reinforce because of how far back that Nidus is. don't think you dropped a creep tumor either, so it's not going to improve. There's a second Nidus inside of the main base behind the mineral line of SortOf. All right, so Zanster's third base is going to get cleared out. He's continuing to push onto the third of SortOf. It's a bile trade back and forth. The Nidus is done inside of the main of SortOf, and he's going to continue to push. Manages to get one of the Overlords with those biles. Roaches going after the drones. The Spire is exposed, and at the same time, these Roaches are going to be able to push back Zanster's army. The Queens are going to be left for dead, as he is forced to retreat, but he can hop, skip, and jump straight back into the main base of SortOf if he so chooses.
This is working out well for Zanster, well enough perhaps. He actually hasn't gotten as many drones as I thought he would, plus SortOf did have the shot to kill drones. He didn't really do a lot of it. There were Spore Crawlers in the main and natural, but Zanster now has that high ground on top of the ramp. He's going to take advantage of it. He also has an upgrade lead. +1 Carapace did finish a little while ago. He's going to take out the Ravagers. Another Nidus Worm going down where he laid that creep tumor. That's really nice.
I like that. I like that a lot. Good cleanup, solid defense so far. Really just trying to hit back and forth with this, but Zanster, that supply zombie grub in the Mutalisk has honed in on this Nidus Worm.
It might be time to just try and draw back here. SortOf has a dominant army supply. The trades have been going in his favor for both fights. So Zanster now just going to try and find him out of position, which, I mean, it worked once, but it wasn't even that great. It just brought him back down to 43 workers, so 49. I mean, Zanster does have the upgrade. He has the drones. Maybe he can bring that army supply up, but he is playing a little dangerously.
Yeah. They're going to trade out here, but you've got that Ravager in the back adding damage. That single Mutalisk helps. Every little bit helps in a situation like this. And there's really not too much going for Zanster anymore. He had the drone lead. Well, I guess he still has the drone lead back home, but his army supply has not been able to match that of SortOf. SortOf's macro. His mechanics, zombie grub, have been so damn good.
And even though SortOf's mutas didn't really work out that much, they still did deny mining for a long time, so that drone count wasn't as severe in the actual income being gained, and then did force Spore Crawls and whatnot. And it was the most important thing was that he was able to hold with his Roach count back at home, and that's exactly what he did to the Spire. And maybe it wasn't the best thing in the world, but SortOf has that army supply lead. He's always going to be down in that upgrade. No +1 K-Rest on the way, doesn't even have the gas to do that. Zanster can certainly take defensive engagements. I think we were both just getting worried that he would continue to feel the need to
because I was gonna say he has the worker count. Like, he can try to do something here that's not just force those Nidus Worms in, but SortOf is getting ready for another attack. We've got Roaches going to the south side of Zanster's third at the same time. The main army is poking the natural. He's really just trying to pull him away towards that north end so he can snipe some drones. There the Roaches go. Going to go into the mineral line and try to target fire down while the army jumps on top of Zanster, throwing the biles. And Zanster holds a teeny tiny supply lead. And with that upgrade advantage, he may be able to hold this off. And now we might see him pull the trigger on another Nidus attack to try to get straight across the map to counter and kill.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be winning out. Queens are helping out. May have a transfuse here. Actually, the top side goes in SortOf's favor for a second. Very, very close battle, but that's where upgrades mean the most.
Yes, exactly. That +1 Carapace for Zanster paying off in spades. Everything is dead. GG. Zanster wins your second match here today.
That was a really cool one. Back and forth. We got the Nidus Worms like you wanted. We got you to play. We got kind of everything right there.
I'm happy. I got no complaints, man. That's some good ZvZ right there, and really well played. I did expect SortOf. SortOf was my pick for this series, mostly because I also like to copy and paste that spam in the chat. But Zanster really held it together. I thought he was throwing that game away with so many Nidus Worms, and I feel like there's definitely a moment when you've committed too much. It's starting to slip away from you, but it seems he got just enough done with, I would say, the Roaches in the main that killed those drones and gave him the economic lead, even though he lost all of his army. And then the +1 Carapace.
Right, the +1 Carapace ended up really, really helping. Well played. Zanster has, at times, been more consistent than others, and then, really working and increasing the level that we would expect him to play at, but it's always a bit of a question mark. So to see him take out SortOf 2-1 is a good start to this group. And get a better handle on what today is going to be like.
Great match.
Young lad.
Great match by Zanster. He moves on to the winner's match, where he'll be playing very soon. But up next, we take a look at our total of Group H for home boys. Our next battle is going to be Hate Me versus SortOf. That's coming up After the break, you're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series.